Shinya Yukimura and Ayame Himuro are brilliant students at Saitama University. Himuro suddenly confesses she is in love with Yukimura, who, unsure how to respond, asks how to define love. Himuro presents mathematical evidence, such as the number of minutes she spends staring at him and her increase in heart rate. Their conclusion is that love is based on a mathematical formula. Fellow student Kanade Kotohana worries they've gone mad. They begin replicating a romantic manga scene in which Yukimura traps Himuro against the wall while tracking her heart rate, and determine that physical closeness has the most extreme result. Yukimura worries that they are confusing love for illness. They repeat their experiment 100 times, but they find the move becomes less effective over time. Himuro compares Yukimura's trap move into a sumo palm thrust, which is not romantic. Kotohana insists love is based on emotions, and presents a story of falling in love with her high school teacher as evidence, but is foiled when Yukimura breaks the story down into a mathematical formula and demands details of her romantic history. Himuro punishes him for being too demanding, so he repeats the trap move once more, insisting he will mathematically prove that love exists, causing her heart rate to rise again. Kotohana explains they work in information science researching human, social, and nature science, and attempting to explain those using mathematics. Unfortunately, their advisor, Ina Ibarata, never does research and plays games all day. It's Yukimura's turn to have his heart rate measured, but he tries to flee before embarrassing data can be collected. So Kotohana and Himuro tie him up. After stroking Himuro's hair, Yukimura's heart rate rises significantly. Ibarata suggests repeating the test with someone other than Himuro. When his heart rate also rises for Kotonoha and Ibarata, Himuro thinks he is a pervert, until Yukimura explains that his heart rate rises because women make him nervous. Himuro gets mad at him anyway. Kotohana struggles to come up with a theme for her thesis. She sees Himuro and Yukimura trying to cook a meal to find if love makes food tastier, using a variety of complicated tests. Kotonoha suggests a blind taste test, one dish Himuro cooks with love and another generic dish. However, Himuro ruins the experiment by drawing a love note on hers. Yukimura claims her dish is the tastiest because the note itself contains love, but no conclusions are reached because everybody becomes too embarrassed. Kotonoha returns to her thesis and finds the whole time Himuro and Yukimura were actually cooking a meal for her as she had nothing for lunch. She finds it delicious. Yukimura and Himuro decide to interview somebody who is in love. Fellow student Kosuke Inukai claims to have a girlfriend, Aika, whom he has spent 227,000 yen on and holds every night. Himuro panics as she has only spent 728 yen on Yukimura and held him once during an experiment. Ibarata, Kosuke's childhood friend, reveals Aika is a dating sim character he owns a body pillow of. Yukimura concludes this to be normal as human romantic preferences are diverse. Based on Kosuke's data, Himuro concludes that she must not love Yukimura. Yukimura panics and retracts his earlier conclusion, deeming Kosuke too weird to gather normal data from. Himuro reveals to Kotonoha she was bullied as a child, until she met a boy who was also bullied but never let it bother him. He told her if she dressed nicer and stopped looking gloomy, people would automatically treat her better, influencing the way she dresses in the present. Kotonoha realizes the boy was obviously Yukimura, only neither Yukimura nor Himuro have realized it. Fed up with how dense they both are, Kotonoha demands they both go on a normal date. Deciding to visit an amusement park, they immediately plan the most efficient route to experience the 22 most romantic moments of a date at an amusement park. Following which, Kotonoha forces Yukimura to officially ask Himuro on a date, which makes her extremely happy when he does. Himuro and Yukimura turn up to their date in their lab coats ready to follow their date plan, but Kanade forces them to dress casually. As well as heart rate and temperature, Ibarata suggests counting the times they feel happy, uncertain, scared, and even when they want to snuggle. Kotonoha has trouble keeping Himuro and Yukimura focused on the date instead of collecting data. Yukimura opts out of the hand-holding, making Himuro leave, until a delinquent tries to forcefully ask her out, so she baffles him with a complicated scientific rejection. Annoyed, he grabs her arm so Yukimura comes to her rescue. When the delinquent protests, Yukimura also baffles him by angrily showing him evidence that suggests he is attracted to Himuro, yet somehow does not prove he loves her. Yukimura's emotional outburst embarrasses him, while Himuro finds it extremely attractive, and they both end up leaving while holding hands. At the amusement park, they continue to hold hands but keep getting distracted by scientifically analyzing the physics of the rides, mostly to distract themselves from being scared of the rides. On the Ferris wheel, Yukimura breaks from the plan and gives Himuro earrings. Himuro studies their data and determines they had fun but should repeat the experiment to make sure. Yukimura and Himuro plan to present their data at the lab's bi-monthly meeting with their professor, Ikeda Kasun, who is both easygoing but also terrifying once enraged. He announces a joint training camp with 3 other universities, which Kanade and Kosuke will need to attend to present their suggested thesis topics, which Kosuke has not started yet, earning Ikeda's wrath. Ikeda is further confused when Yukimura and Himuro present their data on love, which they mostly use to embarrass each other. Despite being annoyed that they are spending less time on their scientific research, Ikeda decides their love research is more interesting and could even become a valuable research study on the psychology of love. They decide they require a larger body of volunteer romantic couples to observe repeating all their experiments. Ibarata pairs Kosuke with Yukimura for her own amusement, so Kosuke challenges her to repeat a hugging experiment with him and see who's most affected. Himuro pairs Yukimura with Kanade but subjugates the experiment due to jealousy. Ibarata easily wins the contest with Kosuke by imitating Aika, which makes his heart race, then beats him again by recounting memories of their childhood friendship. While studying data of Kosuke's heart rate, Ibarata suggests Yukimura and Himuro should try a kiss. Plans are made for a kiss experiment, but Himuro is not enthusiastic about their first kiss being an experiment. Kanade agrees that a kiss needs to be when the mood is right. Himuro and Yukimura begin designing an experiment with help from Ibarata and Kotonoha, and questionable help from Kosuke. They determine they need a pleasant, quiet place with low lighting, no other people, and 30 seconds of eye contact. After much research, it is determined the best place is the university roof at sunset. As a control measure, it is determined other kisses should take place first. Yukimura tries to kiss Kanade but kisses her hand instead. Ibarata kisses Himuro, making Yukimura jealous. Kosuke kisses Himuro's hand but she feels nothing. Himuro has a sisterly moment with Kanade and kisses her on the forehead, embarrassing them both. Yukimura and Kosuke get in a fight. Yukimura runs away from Ibarata. Ibarata and Kosuke play games instead. Kosuke and Kanade have an indirect kiss via a teacup. Finally, Yukimura and Himuro try to kiss, finding that the mood is exactly right. Unfortunately, they are interrupted by a helicopter, the sun setting before they were ready, and the janitor waiting to lock the roof door, ruining the mood. Annoyed, Himuro demands that they kiss anyway, regardless of mood. Yukimura kisses her hair, promising one day they will have a kiss of the highest theoretical value, which ends up being perfect in its own way. The residents of the lab throw a party to celebrate the end of the semester and play their traditional party game where they recite prime numbers. Kanade has never studied prime numbers, so Himuro explains their scientific significance, and even that one of mathematics' greatest unsolved problems, the Riemann hypothesis, involves prime numbers. Himuro gets drunk and starts acting very clingy around Yukimura, while Kosuke strangely does the same with Ibarata. Ikeda drinks too much and falls asleep. Kanade also gets drunk and scolds Yukimura and Himuro for not becoming a normal couple already. She also admits an incident in high school led her to trying her hardest to fit in and seem normal. With only Yukimura left sober, he reads a book while everyone else sleeps. With the failure of the kiss experiment, they decide to extract live data from romantic movies aimed at children, such as Cinderella and The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, despite Yukimura bemoaning their lack of realism. In the end, they make no progress that day, but they decide that it's not such a bad thing. With less than a month left until the training camp, Kosuke has gotten no further on his research and is hopelessly depressed. Ikeda suggests Kosuke find science in his everyday life, such as NP hardness in complex dating sim or chaos theory in the random trajectory of a soccer ball. Yukimura criticizes Kanade's presentation skills, citing the 10,000 hours rule. then demands a sample of her saliva. Himuro reveals they want to measure oxytocin, aka the love hormone that is released when in physical contact with a loved one. Their hope is that they can accurately identify who a person is in love with. As an example, Yukimura shows the embarrassing video of Himuro drunk at the party, which Himuro did not know existed. They decide a 1-minute hug will suffice for physical contact, but both become overwhelmed after only a few seconds. Yukimura plans to present their oxytocin research at the training camp. Akira Yamamoto, an ex-student of Ikeda's, arrives at the lab and becomes interested in Himuro and Yukimura. She reveals she is an amateur manga artist and asks permission to turn them into a manga series. They agree, hoping they can collect love data from everyone who reads it. Ikeda invites Arika to the training camp, which he reveals is in Okinawa. When Arika becomes excited about all the erotic scenes she could draw of Himuro and Yukimura, they begin to regret accepting her offer. Yukimura is punished by Himuro for trying to conduct experiments on the plane. Kanade expresses interest in the physics of flight, so Himuro explains about lift and Bernoulli's principle, while struggling with her impulse to cuddle Yukimura. They find their hotel is unusually luxurious and learn that Arika paid for it, despite being a starving artist, in the hope that luxury will cause Yukimura and Himuro to be romantic and provide material for her manga. On the beach, Yukimura is embarrassed that Himuro is 2.34 times more attractive in a bikini. Yuichi, the delinquent from the amusement park, is in Okinawa, but flees after seeing Himuro. They play watermelon splitting, but Kosuke is unable to follow Ibarata's complex plane of directions. Himuro and Yukimura begin physical contact experiments, but due to the amount of exposed skin, they are too embarrassed. Yukimura gets into an argument with the others about which type of hug offers the largest amount of skin contact. Due to Himuro's large bust creating distance between them, Ibarata and Arika try to force Yukimura to hug Kosuke instead to avoid the bust problem. Ibarata tortures Kosuke with their childhood beach memories. Yuichi decides to seduce Ibarata, but when he grabs her arm, Kosuke beats him up, only to learn they were playing beach games on their phones and Ibarata humiliates him for overreacting but is secretly glad he did. Ikeda reveals to Kanade and Kosuke their presentations will be in front of the world's most famous geniuses, scientists, and professors. Yukimura barges into Himuro's room, making her believe he wants physical intimacy, only for him to begin preparing Kanade for her presentation. Himuro realizes she wants to be closer with Yukimura at times when it is impossible, in accordance with the behavioral recitance rule, and believes she is responding to their lack of intimacy by craving more. The first presentation is given by Shijiko Noya, one of Yuichi's friends, but he is kicked off stage by his own professor for failing to adequately prepare. Kosuke presents his research into NP hardness and longest path and shortest path problems. Despite the erotic content, Professor Kaku, a famous scientist, is forced to agree his research has value given the recent creation of national gaming championships. Kanade begins to panic, so Yukimura hugs her, which is seen by Himuro. Kanade becomes angry, so Yukimura explains he was attempting to raise her cortisol levels to calm her. She presents her thesis on the traveling salesman problem and latent variables, using Yukimura and Himuro's perfect amusement park date as her basis. She manages to answer all the professor's questions and impress them. Kosuke is even praised by Professor Kaku, despite having called him badly. Angry, Himuro confronts Yukimura about his hug with Kanade. Himuro becomes angry at Yukimura. Yukimura refuses to feel shame for helping Kanade calm down and berates Himuro for feeling jealous since they aren't even dating yet. Himuro slaps him and leaves crying. Everyone tries to relax at an aquarium but cannot due to Himuro and Yukimura. Himuro asks if Yukimura knows why she's upset, though Kosuke points out this is a legendary relationship question for which there is no right answer the man can give. Yukimura gives scientific reasons for her anger, including her menstrual cycle, so she hits him again. Himuro admits to Kanade that she is ashamed for acting emotionally instead of intellectually, whereas Yukimura is disappointed because the aquarium world would have been ideal for a high-value kiss. Himuro tells Kanade that she was most affected by the statement that she and Yukimura are not dating, so Kanade tells her some jealousy is expected when in love. But rather than talking to Yukimura about it, Himuro adds a jealousy frequency variable to their research, but cannot tell Yukimura since they are fighting. She decides to reconcile with him and with Kanade and Arika's help, decides to buy Yukimura a personalized glasses case and write an apology thesis. Yukimura reads the thesis and decides he must reconcile with Himuro. Kanade becomes concerned when Himuro does not return to their room, so he heads to Yukimura, who is currently working on reconciling with Himuro. Learning that she is missing, he along with Kosuke and Kanade conduct a full search in the hotel for her. Amidst it, Ibarata informs them that he saw Himuro head outside the hotel and never returned, as well as that she had tripped on the last step of the staircase, meaning it was physically impossible for her to have broken the glasses case. After hearing from Kanade that Yamamoto was in charge of gift wrapping, Yukimura confronts her outside, and she reveals that she indeed broke the case, wanting to serve as an obstacle to the reconciliation to generate more drama and material for her manga. Yamamoto then compares herself to Yukimura, two wholly devoted individuals in their fields who will stop at nothing to see results. Yukimura agrees and swears to Yamamoto that he will stop her at every attempt to obstruct their research to discover the existence of love. Yamamoto wishes him and Himuro well before revealing Himuro's location, as well as the glasses case she actually bought, the one that broke being a decoy. Yukimura runs off and locates Himuro on a bridge, where he begins criticizing her for her poorly written reconciliation thesis. In the middle of said criticism, Himuro lets out her emotions and embraces Yukimura on the spot, leading to the two of them sharing a kiss overseeing the sunrise. The two of them regroup with everyone else and they all return to the university, where they continue their research on love. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you